Hey, welcome. Today we're going to peel back the curtain on a system that works tirelessly, pretty much invisibly, to keep all of us safe. We're taking a look inside the medical waste bin to understand the surprisingly complex world of hospital waste management.
So, have you ever really wondered what happens to a used needle or a blood bag after it's used? I mean, it's something most of us just don't think about, right? You see a doctor, a nurse, they use something, and it just poof, disappears. But where does it actually go? And how does it get there safely? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
Okay, so first things first, when we say hospital waste, what are we actually talking about? Because as it turns out, it's a way bigger and more varied category than you'd probably imagine.
All right, so the official term we need to get familiar with is biomedical waste. And look, this isn't just about needles and blood bags. Nope. It covers any waste that's generated during diagnosis, treatment, or even immunization. We're talking everything from a simple contaminated cotton swab to really complex stuff from labs and operating rooms. Basically, if it's a byproduct of the healthcare process, it fits in this category.
Okay, now this is fascinating. This chart completely flips the script on what most of us probably think of as hospital waste. Just look at that. Over half of it, a massive 53.5%, is just general waste. Things like food scraps, paper. The stuff we really worry about, the hazardous material, it's actually a super small fraction of the total. But, and this is a big but, even though it's a tiny fraction, that hazardous part is the entire reason this whole system exists. So let's dive in and look at the hidden dangers that are lurking in that small percentage of waste. So first up, we've got infectious waste. This is the stuff we all think of when we see that biohazard symbol. And yeah, it only makes up about 1.5% of the total, which sounds small. But this is the material that contains pathogens, harmful germs that could cause really serious diseases like HIV or hepatitis B and C if someone gets exposed. And that, right there, is why handling it correctly is absolutely critical. But it's not just about infections. Oh no. Hospitals also produce all sorts of other hazardous materials. You've got chemical waste from things like disinfectants, radioactive waste from certain treatments, and even something called genotoxic waste, which often comes from cancer treatments, and that contains substances that can literally damage our DNA. Each one of these needs its own unique special handling. So with all these different kinds of dangerous materials, how in the world do you manage it all safely and efficiently? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple and kinda elegant. It's a color-coded solution. And this slide right here illustrates the absolute core principle. The whole game is about segregation at the source. You can't just wait and let it all get mixed together in some giant dumpster. No way. The key is sorting the waste into different streams the moment it's created, using a really clear visual system of colored bins. All right, let's break down the colors. First up, the yellow bin. This one's for some of the most sensitive stuff. Human anatomical waste. Really soiled things like dressings and plaster casts, expired medicines, and chemical waste. Because of what this stuff is, it's pretty much all destined for high-temperature incineration. Next up, we've got the red bin. This is all about contaminated plastics that can actually be recycled. So think of things like IV tubes and sets, catheters, syringes, but without the needles, and gloves. After this stuff is collected, it gets sterilized to make it totally safe, and then it's shredded for recycling. Okay, now the white container is a bit special. It's not a bag, it's a hard, puncture-proof container. It has one job and one job only: to safely hold sharps. We're talking needles, syringes with the needles still attached, scalpels, blades, anything that could poke or cut someone and transmit a disease. It all goes in here to protect healthcare workers from those dangerous accidental pricks. And last but not least, we have the blue box. This one is for glassware, things like vials and ampules, and also for discarded metallic body implants. Just like the stuff in the red bin, this material gets disinfected or sterilized before it's sent off for recycling or its final disposal. Okay, so all the waste is sorted into the right color bins, but what happens next? Where does it all go? Well, that brings us to the final and totally crucial steps: treatment and disposal. You have to think of the whole process as a really carefully managed journey. It all starts with that super important segregation right at the source. From there, all those color-coded bags and containers are collected, transported securely, and then, and only then, taken for their specific final treatment. Every single step in that chain is vital.
When it comes to the hazardous stuff, there are really two main ways to treat it. First, there's incineration. This is mostly for the waste from the yellow bins. It uses incredibly high heat to just burn the material, which shrinks its volume by 70 to 80%. The other method is autoclaving. You can think of it like a giant, super-powered pressure cooker. It uses high-pressure steam to sterilize the waste from the red, white, and blue containers, killing off any pathogens and making it all safe to handle for recycling or disposal.
So we've gone through the what and the how, but let's wrap this up by zooming out to the most important question of all. Why? Why does all of this matter so much? Remember that number we talked about earlier, that only about 1.5% of hospital waste is actually infectious? Well, here's the kicker. If that tiny percentage gets mixed in with the general trash, the entire load is now considered hazardous. The potential for harm just explodes. And that's why this careful, meticulous separation is completely non-negotiable. At the end of the day, this system is a massive cornerstone of public health. It's what protects healthcare workers on the front lines from injury and infection. It's what prevents dangerous diseases from spreading out into our communities. And it safeguards our environment from some really nasty contamination. It really is a shield that works on so many different levels. You know, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The entire complex system of safety all hinges on one simple action. Done correctly, thousands and thousands of times a day in every single hospital. It's just putting the right waste in the right bin right from the very start. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other invisible systems are out there working every single day, completely in the background, just to keep our communities safe? It's something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me.